And the Oscar goes to...
We're officially a month away from this year's Academy Awards, and as always, I've set myself the challenge to watch all 50 of the nominated films to determine how many of them are really good, how many of them are maybe not so good, and how many of them truly deserve to be nominated this year in the first place. So join me today as I rank all of these films from the not so great to the best of the best. Perfectly a Strangeness is nominated for documentary short film and follows three donkeys wandering an empty desert and what occurs when they discover an abandoned observatory. Something has to be at the bottom, and I feel bad putting a short film there, but for me, I just couldn't really find anything all that interesting about what was going on with this short. It's essentially just a camera crew following donkeys around for 30 minutes, and when something like EO exists that actually does a similar idea, but with a more compelling story, I'm more inclined to go back to that than something like this. It looks stunning, and I mean, if that sells you on it, then please give it a go. But I just couldn't help but feeling my mind wander for a large chunk of the runtime. And that's pretty bad when it's only 30 minutes long. Jane Austen's period piece is nominated for live action short film and is set in 1813 England, where we witness the long overdue proposal between two British lovers. However, things take an unexpected turn when one of them unexpectedly gets their period. I could almost tell immediately that this short film was written by Americans, when most of the humour throughout is people saying some of the most over-the-top sexual phrases in sexual accents. It's one of those things that grows entirely tiresome for me. That being said, I do respect the way that this film tries to handle the controversy around periods and, in a way, attempts to explain why the stigma around women, specifically bringing them up, is like the most non-issue in the world. Explains how redundant it all is about people complaining about this sort of stuff. I think that's really cool that with what they're trying to say, but in the grand scheme of things, the short just didn't work for me and I really just didn't find it all that funny. The Three Sisters is nominated for Best Animated Short Film, and it follows three sisters who live isolated to the world on a small island. When things begin to get a little rough, they're forced to rent out one of their houses to make some extra money. I promise that I don't have all 15 short films just at the very bottom of the list. It's just this year, I felt that some of them were kind of very weak. The story is fairly cute and occasionally the humour even worked on me, but I personally couldn't get behind the animation style for this one. It reminded me slightly of like those really old Newground Flash animations, like probably in the most boring way possible. The choice of no dialogue also was one that worked and didn't, where some of the scenes felt like they dragged on way too much, whereas there was other bits that gave off the impression that they were slightly charming. It's cute, but realistically, what is it doing at the Oscars? Diane Warren Relentless is nominated for Original Song, and it follows songwriter Diane Warren as we are given an intimate view of what she is like as an artist, how her career got as big as it is, and how desperate she is to win one of these fucking gold statues. Everyone that watches the Oscars every year, when it comes to the original song category, they know to just tick off one of the spots for Diane Warren because she's always there. She always finds a way to get a nomination. It's obvious at this point. But my real question is how many people can really name a real thing that she's done outside of that? When the film discusses details of her early life, or even goes as far to talk about how some of her hit songs were made, I have to say I was fairly invested in what was going on. This is all new to me, and to be honest, she's kind of a really interesting songwriter, or at least at one point in time she was. Eventually, there's a shift in the film where we go on a continuous walk around tedious circles about how badly she really wants the validation that comes from winning an Oscar. And it gets to a point when you're watching her friends outraged at Billie Eilish for, well, writing the better song. It gets to that point where I kind of sit there and question, is this just a fucking fraudulent piece of media to try and win her this? My real thing is just like maybe write a song for a real film for once and put 100% into it, and maybe you'll have a win on your hands. Also worth mentioning that I'm not really crazy for the song that she wrote for this, and I don't really think Kesha fits the vibes of what she was trying to do with it, and the writing itself is just kind of lazy as well. Oh well, I'll see you again next year, Diane. I'm sure we'll be having this exact same conversation, but please, if you feel like you don't want to do that, I'm open to be surprised too. Jurassic World Rebirth is nominated for Best Visual Effects and is set 5 years after the event of the last Jurassic World film, where we join blah 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 dinosaurs blah 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 island blah 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 Scarlett Johansson. Dull, uninspired, lazy, money laundering. These are all things that I would use to describe any of the Jurassic World films. They always sneak a nomination for one of these fucking dinosaur films. Of course, the dinosaurs look pretty cool, but It's a Jurassic World film. We've seen it done before. Who cares? The Lost Bus is nominated for Best Visual Effects, and it tells the true story of a bus driver who risks his life to rescue a teacher and her students from one of the worst wildfires in California's history. The most interesting parts of The Lost Bus boil down to some of the really creative visual effects that go into the fire set pieces throughout the film. The issue is with everything else, which is pretty much a bland standard disaster movie where you can kind of tell exactly what direction it's going to go in. I'm glad it got a nomination for the visuals. I think they are actually quite outstanding at points, but to be honest with you, I'm probably never ever going to rewatch this or rethink of it ever again. Elio is nominated for Best Animated Feature, and it follows Elio himself, a child obsessed with space, and finds himself in an actual adventure across it where he discovers himself better as a person. And I actually don't remember anything else about this film despite having watched it less than 2 weeks ago. I heard stories that originally the movie was going to be a lot more queer-coded. For whatever reason, Pixar swapped a bunch of stuff out, probably because people got pissed off that 2 space aliens kissed in Buzz Lightyear, whatever. Buzz Island. But to be honest with you, this is one of the most generic things that Pixar pulled out their ass in quite a long time. I personally still enjoy a lot of the modern Pixar stuff with things like Soul or even Turning Red, but honestly, you could have told me this came out from any other studio and I probably would have believed you. A Friend of Dorothy is nominated for Best Live Action Short, and it follows Dorothy, an old widow who crosses paths with JJ after his football lands in her garden. The two begin to bond over their shared love of theatre. A cute little British short film about friendship that I can get behind a lot. It has some nice performances here and there that probably warrant its existence a little bit, but I can't really say that it hit me as hard as I was kind of expecting, so, you know, if you have the spare time, check this one out. You'll probably get a smile by the end of it. K-Pop Demon Hunters is nominated for Best Animated Film and Original Song. We all fucking know this movie, right? The music's everywhere, it's charting on Netflix, we all know it, I don't need to explain it. Everyone has been trying to bite the Spider-Verse style since it released in 2018, and while I did find this to be fun on occasion, I have to be the miserable fuck in the room and say that this is one of the most corporately coded films I've seen in quite some time. Everything to me feels purposely done in ways that I really dislike, whether it's to make an iconic frame that'll become a meme or a gif, songs that are actually pretty decent but really only exist to chart on the radio, and a story that is fine, but I feel like judging by how stunning the film actually is to look at, the story should have maybe been interesting to me. I'm clearly in the minority here, and that's completely fine. It's just very middle of the road for me, and at least it's gotten kids to go out and listen to music from different cultures and countries. I think that's pretty cool, but for me, it's whatever. F1 is nominated for Best Picture, Best Editing, Sound and Visual Effects, and it follows Sonny Hayes, a racing icon, as he is brought back into the sport of Formula 1 to help a down-on-its-luck team win the season. I already did a video talking about F1. I think that the movie itself is insanely mediocre as a sports film, and all of my F1 fan friends have said that it portrays the sport in the worst ways possible, so I don't really feel bad for not liking this one. No idea what the fuck it's doing in Best Picture. Butcher's Stain is nominated for live action short film, and it follows an Arab butcher who's falsely accused by his manager of removing hostage posters at work. It's a pretty decent short film that reflects on current events, but kind of does the bare minimum with what it's trying to say, and at times finds itself distracted way too much with side plots that realistically don't go anywhere. It's okay, but when there's better films nominated in other categories that do the same thing and actually speak out more about these issues, I have to question why it's here in the first place. The Girl Who Cried Pearls is nominated for Animated Short Film, and it tells the story of a girl who experiences many miseries in her life with love and greed. It's a very well made short film that followed an all too recognisable story for me. I probably would have ranked this significantly lower if I didn't think that the animation was so stunning to look at. Forgiven is nominated for Animated Short Film and follows an orphaned bear cub as he faces trouble when his hunger overtakes his love for his father figure Evergreen Tree. Pretty much the exact same as the last film. Would probably have it lower, story's fairly generic, but the animation is really stunning to look at. Little Amelie, or The Character of Rain, is nominated for Animated Feature, and it follows 2-year-old Amelie as she learns to understand the world around her as she grows up in Japan. This film is very cute, very fun to watch, and I wish I kind of loved it as much as everyone else seems to be. When it has a runtime of 78 minutes, I can't help but feel there's room to develop a lot of the ideas occurring throughout this whole film. But at the end of the day, I had a really great time with it, and I would probably show this to younger family members in the future because I think it's a film that a lot of children would get a lot out of. And adults too, clearly. Song Sung Blue has Kate Hudson nominated for leading actress and follows the story of two musicians that form a Neil Diamond tribute and the unexpected love and tragedy that comes with it. Honestly, this film may look like one of the most boring biopics you've ever seen, but I advise you check this one out just for the sheer unexpected nature of the directions that it goes through its story. Although I did find it to be quite a powerful and feel-good time, I couldn't help but feel the whiplash of the story jumping from tone to tone. And honestly, when there's a documentary out there that tells the same story in a probably more accurate portrayal, why wouldn't I just watch that instead? Kate Hudson does give a rather great performance though, and although I would have rather seen someone like Jason Finney in this category, I've kind of gotten over the rage that came with her getting in here. Armed Only with a Camera, The Life and Death of Brent Renaud is nominated for documentary short film, and it follows filmmaker Brent Renaud and the lengths that he would go to document stories across the world and his eventual death at the hands of Russian soldiers. I think Brent was a very brave and admirable journalist who risked his life time and time again to make sure that stories that weren't being told would always get their shine in the limelight. That's why it kind of saddens me to say that I think this documentary is a little bit unfocused and tries to pick a few angles. It doesn't know if it wants to be a tribute or a reel to show of his work, and that's why I wish this was so much better. That being said, I think that he himself would have been so happy with how the film ended, and you know, if this sounds interesting, check it out. He seemed like a really interesting and brave guy. The Smashing Machine is nominated for makeup and hairstyling and follows MMA fighter Mark Kerr as he attempts to be the best fighter in the world whilst dealing with opioid addiction and an unsteady relationship. Spoke about this film on the channel again. It's just pretty bog standard. The documentary was kind of more interesting for me. That being said, the makeup on Dwayne Johnson is pretty good, and in another year he maybe could have got nominated for this. Children No More Were and Are Gone is nominated for documentary short film, and it tells the story of activists in Tel Aviv as they show opposition to the genocide occurring in Gaza. Kind of similar with the Brent documentary, it just feels a little unfocused, but it has a fairly decent message behind all of it. Come and See Me in the Good Light is nominated for Best Documentary Feature, and it follows poets and couple Andrea Gibson and Megan Falley as they discuss their life together as they battle through an illness that changes both of their lives. Having never heard of either of these poets, I found this to be a very sweet and intimate view of their two lives together as they dealt with some really shitty situations in their way. There's a few pacing issues here and there, but for the most part it is quite beautiful to watch and even at times quite hilarious too. Andrea Gibson was an electric performer, and this is truly a great way to honour as an artist. Zootopia 2 is nominated for animated feature, and it follows officers Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde as they're back in Zootopia attempting to solve a mysterious piece of the city's history. Gotta give Disney credit on this one. Really had a fun time with it, and even when doing the bare minimum of a sequel, they know what things people are interested in. The world building here is so fun. Children and adults could like this together. It has a large sum of pros that the first film also did. I'll happily watch this one again, and if they make more, I'll probably be there day one. Frankenstein is nominated for Best Picture, Jacob Elordi for Supporting Actor, Cinematography, Costume Design, Makeup and Hairstyling, Score, Production Design, Sound, and Adapted Screenplay. It's Frankenstein. Everyone fucking knows the classic story of Frankenstein. Spoke about this one on the channel already. Think that it's one of Del Toro's weakest films in recent years, and I wasn't really too crazy for it, like it didn't warrant another Frankenstein adaptation for me. That being said, it's 100% gonna sweep this year at the technical awards. It has some really fantastic costume and production design, and I mean, who could forget that makeup on Jacob Elordi's creature? It's a decent watch, but it's not likely that I'm ever going to go back to it anytime soon. Cutting Through Rocks is nominated for documentary feature, and it follows Sarah Shaverdi, a confident motorcycle riding woman in Iran who wins a local election by a landslide and now must deal with people trying to stand in her way as she tries to make a change. Really enjoyed this one, and with the runtime being so short, the film flies by to tell us this really well told story about a woman who just really wanted to make a difference in a country telling her no. Sarah is such an interesting person who I think deserved to have this film made about her, and as she stands up for some really fantastic things. Although the documentary leads into some really upsetting areas at times, definitely worth a watch. Viva Verdi is nominated for Best Original Song and follows Casa Verdi Milan, a home for older musicians built in 1896 by Giuseppe Verdi. We follow the lives of the patrons there as they explain their history of music and how even at their age, they still got it. Probably the film that the least amount of people knew existed before it got a nomination at the Oscars. I know I had never heard of it. So I do find it fun when the Oscar has these very niche picks that put you in a direction you never would have expected. I loved learning the history of the building itself and all the stories that the people living there have to share with us. It's definitely got a very bittersweet ending with, judging how long the film took to make. But the song nominated is pretty great, and honestly, I ain't mad it's nominated. Mr. Nobody Against Putin is nominated for Best Documentary Feature and follows a Russian teacher as he begins to document his school as he sees it change in awful ways due to the war with Ukraine. Pavel Talikin is probably one of the most brave people I've ever seen documented on film. The way that he would go out there and film all of this stuff, showing just how easy it is for people to get brainwashed into believing something that they don't particularly care for is, well, it's quite ironic, isn't it? Some film regarding similar topics is nominated every single year, and it never feels like they get any less important. If anything, it's shocking that we as a planet continue to walk in these circles of just fucking hell. Avatar: Fire and Ash is nominated for Best Costume Design and Visual Effects, and it's obviously another Avatar film. I'm obviously gonna watch the next one that comes out. It's obviously gonna win visual effects, and obviously, I liked it. Fucking hilarious, it got costumes though. Butterfly is nominated for animated short film and follows a Jewish North African man swim in the ocean as it begins to trigger memories of his life as a professional swimmer during World War II. This is some of the most stunning animation I've seen all year long, all decade long. I cannot imagine how long it took to make something like this. I recommend this one a lot for the animation alone, and honestly, if they made a feature out of this, I would be there immediately. The Ugly Stepsister is nominated for Best Makeup and Hairstyling and is a retelling of Cinderella from the perspective of one of the ugly stepsisters as beauty standards and cosmetic surgery begin to ruin her life. This movie is fucking disgusting, but oh my god, is it not brilliant in the way that it executes its ideas through scenes that will make you gasp, gag, and honestly probably throw up in a way that is so realistically portrayed in a morbid light. It does find a way to be refreshing for audience members to, well, be fucking sick at. If you study practical effects or makeup in any way possible, you need to watch this film, you need to dissect how the fuck they did any of this stuff. It's so impressive on a practical level, and although Frankenstein's probably going to win makeup, I wouldn't be mad with this pick. Hamnet is nominated for Best Picture, Jessie Buckley for Leading Actress, Casting, Costume, Director, Score, Production Design, and Adapted Screenplay, and it tells the story of Agnes and William Shakespeare as their life is sent into tragedy as they face a loss so close to their hearts. Spoke about Hamlet on the channel already, wasn't crazy about it, I did enjoy it. I think Buckley's performance as Agnes is really great and it hits the emotional beats that it needs to, like a professional. And honestly, I was probably just most interested whenever she was on screen. I also think the production design here is stellar work. Some really beautiful sets that make the production feel so much more lived in and authentic to the story. That being said, this would be a pretty boring Best Picture win, no? Train Dreams is nominated for Best Picture, Cinematography, Original Song, and Adapted Screenplay, and it follows a logger's life as he deals with love and loss over his lifetime. Cannot believe that this got nominated with Netflix's awful marketing for the film. I literally only knew this existed because of some insufferable discourse all over Twitter. Obviously, it's one of the most stunning movies of the entire year. The way that Adolfo Filoso works with natural light, I imagine, was a very tedious thing to do, but the payoff is really one of the most stunning films I've seen all year in its cinematography. Honestly, just all around a really great surprise of the year, and I could definitely see myself revisiting this very soon in the near future. The Devil is Busy is nominated for documentary short film and follows an abortion clinic in Atlanta as it shows us an average day as they deal with protecting staff, protesters, and constant changes in law. Found the short to be very interesting in the way that it just follows one day of the operation for this clinic, and just how much energy has to go into a great deal of things attempting to get into the way of how they function. In a world where laws are changing every day, a lunatic is controlling this country, and women are losing the right to their bodies at the hands of fucking morons, it is really important to have these sorts of people on the front lines of abortion clinics to make sure that women can have the choices they feel are right to them. I think this is very courageous stuff and kind of gives me some little bit of hope in humanity that there are still people out there that care. All the Empty Rooms is nominated for documentary short film and follows a journalist and photographer as they go around America in an attempt to memorialize bedrooms left behind by children who have been killed in school shootings. It's the same thing as Mr. Nobody Against Putin. It's one of these films that is nominated every single year, and it says more about the world that we live in than the Oscars choices in nominations. It's absolutely devastating to see these parents discuss the loss of their children, and I think that what Steve Hartman and Lou Bop did with this project is really important to just remember that these were real children who lived real lives that were taken from them undeserved way too early. Kokoho is nominated for makeup and hairstyling and spans 50 years telling the story of Kaku Tachibana as he's taken under the wing of a famous kabuki actor and grows to be one of the best performers in history. This is another one of those nominations that I appreciate the Oscars so much for, putting me onto the map of what this film is, where did it come from, and just proving that their little niche nominations are maybe sometimes their best. For being so cheaply made, the film has such an insane sense of scale, resulting in one of the most interesting films I've ever seen in my life based on Japanese culture, and the lengths that people will go to solidify themselves as one of the greats. Take notes, Shalmay. Don't be intimidated by that 174-minute runtime. I promise you it's such a treat and it flies by. Retirement Plan is nominated for animated short film and follows Ray as he highlights his perfect life once he reaches retirement. I cannot believe how much I loved this short film. There is so much heart and humor and soul that is just arrayed throughout the entire runtime. The film highlights the promises that we make ourselves in the hope of reaching the day we have no responsibilities, and also kind of reminds us that time isn't exactly promised to us, so if you have something you really want to do in life, you need to just go out there and grab it. The Perfect Neighbor is nominated for Best Documentary Feature and shows the story, primarily through police body cam, of a neighbourhood littered with prejudice and fear by the hands of stand your ground laws. This is a brilliantly made documentary about one of the most evil fucking people I've ever seen in my life. I feel like most of these documentaries nominated, whether they're short or feature length, highlight some of the biggest issues surrounding America's gun laws and why there is a desperate need for change to be made. It's a really harrowing tale which I'm sadly sure time is inevitably just gonna repeat. Two People Exchanging Saliva is nominated for live action short and shows a dystopian society where kissing is punishable by death and slaps are required to pay for things. It's a fantastically made short film that is so bizarre yet has a bunch of underlying messages hidden throughout. I love the style behind it and feel the idea of putting it in black and white really benefited heavily in its presentation. I'm happy the Academy always favours at least one of these really niche, weird short films, and they're typically always my favourite, and this one is 100% up there. The Alabama Solution is nominated for Best Documentary Feature and shows incarcerated men attempting to expose the many deadly cover-ups hidden in America's outdated prison system. The execution behind this documentary is incredibly well done, uncovering some of the most inhumane conditions that some of these prisoners have to face in their incarceration. Prison should be a deal of rehabilitation, not whatever the fuck was occurring in these prisons. It's absolutely shocking and disgusting to witness that the way that these people were treated like chickens in a coop rather than real human beings, and I really don't understand how anyone could watch something like this and not understand that there is serious change that needs to be made. The Singers is nominated for live action short and follows a singing contest which occurs in a dive bar that leads to shared connections between the patrons inside it. This short film is one of the most well shot and beautifully crafted shorts I've seen in such a long time. The cinematography from DP Sam Davis is next level and would honestly fit as feature level. It's even more impressive when you realise that he also directed, edited and produced the damn thing too. Check this one out ASAP. It's cute, short and at times pretty hilarious. The voice of Hind Rajab is nominated for International Feature and follows the true story of Red Crescent volunteers trying to get help so that they can free a 5-year-old girl who is trapped in her car whilst being shot at by the IDF in Gaza. You can imagine that this is a pretty upsetting film, and you'd be very right. That being said, it doesn't take away from just how well made it is. I love the way that the real audio from the phone call is used to both pay respect to Hind Rajab whilst also emphasizing just how horrifying this is and how brave of a little girl they are. It's important, it's intense, check it out. Arco is nominated for Animated Feature and follows 10-year-old Arco as he lives in the future and gets way too ahead of himself, leading to an adventure stuck in the past on a mission to get home. This is actually the very last film I had to watch this year for the nominations, and quite frankly, I think I saved one of the best for last. In a year where I thought some of the animated nominations were fairly weak, I think Arco is a perfect little film full of creativity and heart. I wasn't entirely sure I was going to be a fan of the slow frame rate animation, but quickly it grew on me and proved itself to be one of the most charming animated films of the entire year. It Was Just an Accident is nominated for International Feature and Original Screenplay. It follows a man as he encounters another who he believes is the sadistic jailhouse captor who imprisoned him in his past. I spoke about this film in the littlest way I possibly could last time, and I'm probably going to stick to doing the same thing here. Jafar Panahi is a man that truly lives and breathes cinema. I mean, he literally gets in prison for like every movie he makes. You could not be more committed than him if you tried. I'm really gutted it didn't get a Best Picture nomination, but if you haven't seen it by now, what the fuck are you doing? Blue Moon is nominated for Original Screenplay and Ethan Hawke for Leading Actor, and follows Loren's heart as he finds himself at his lowest in a bar whilst his former collaborator's newest musical, Oklahoma, has its opening night. Blue Moon is the type of Linklater film I fell in love with back in the day. It's small, short, and so well written you feel like you're watching a play at points, with the way it keeps itself so reserved, yet knows exactly how to keep the audience entertained with so little. Ethan Hawke is obviously brilliant here, maybe a career best. Honestly, really impossible not to fall in love with the work that he does, and I mean, I'm not saying he should win, but I wouldn't be mad about it. The Secret Agent is nominated for International Feature, casting Wagner Moura for Leading Actor and Best Picture, and follows 1977 Brazil, where Marcelo flees his past in an attempt to make peace but finds even more trouble around every corner. Already spoke about this in full. It's a great time for Brazilian cinema. It's alive and well. Check that video out if you want. And if Wagner Moura takes SAG, I personally think Chalamet is in the fucking mud. Sinners is the most nominated film in history with 16 nominations for Original Screenplay, Visual Effects, Sound, Production Design, Song, Score, Makeup, Editing, Director, Costume Design, Cinematography, Casting, Wumi Minsaku for Supporting Actress, Delroy Lindo for Supporting Actor, Michael B. Jordan for Leading Actor, and Best Picture. It follows twin brothers Smoke and Stack as they return to their hometown to start over, but realize a sinister being is out there to get into their plans. I intended to talk about Sinners so long ago, did not realize that it would still be in the conversation. I don't really have much to add to that conversation, but I will say I did think it was a fairly good movie. I don't think it's the masterpiece that some people are out there making out to be, but I do think there is a lot to like about it, with some explosive set pieces and performances. Michael B. Jordan does a great job at playing both of the brothers and showcasing how different they are from one another. I can understand that there is a lot of issues here that keep it from being perfect for me, but quite frankly, I'll never forget its beautifully crafted score and really amazingly captured frames. I think 16 nominations is a little overkill, but I'll happily admit it is fairly cool to see the record be broken by a filmmaker that is clearly passionate about his work and has plenty of great ideas to bring. If I Have Legs, I'd Kick You has one nomination for Rose Byrne for Leading Actress, as we follow Linda's life crashing out of control as she juggles her child's illness, her absent husband, overbearing therapist job, and a flood in her apartment. Is it just me, or should someone investigate the Bronsteins on how they're able to create such anxious and unforgettable screenplays? Rose Byrne gives a raw and down-to-earth performance here that honestly makes me just want to give her a hug, because I know fine well this was a long experience of a film to get made. I also do think that Mary Bronstein's direction and screenplay is amazingly flawless. I feel like she's been at this for years, when in reality this is like her debut or sophomore film, and I would love to figure out how she is so good at what she is doing. Also, would have loved a nomination for Conan O'Brien. It's a shockingly good performance from him. Begonia has 4 nominations for Adapted Screenplay, Score, Emma Stone for Leading Actress, and Best Picture. Follows 2 conspiracy crazy men as they kidnap a CEO believing she may be an alien intent to destroy the planet. I also spoke about Begonia already on the channel, and upon rewatch, it grew on me even more. Emma Stone is brilliant, the score is so memorable and works at the right places, the screenplay is sharp, and Jesse Plemons truly should have got a nomination for what is probably the best performance of his entire career. Sentimental Value has 9 nominations this year, with Original Screenplay, International Feature, Editing, Director, Stellan Skarsgård for Supporting Actor, Inga Ivsdottir Lialnes for Supporting Actress, Elle Fanning for Supporting Actress, and Renetta Rensby for Leading Actress. And Best Picture follows Nora and Agnes as they reunite with their estranged father Gustav. After Nora is offered a role in his comeback film and declines, family history is revealed when he offers the role to a younger Hollywood actress. There is so much to love with a film like Sentimental Value, with such a bittersweet screenplay that knows when to be humorous at times. Not to mention that all 4 performances at the centre of it are some of the greatest performances of the year. I really need to highlight Inga, I'm going to pronounce her name wrong, Inga Ivsdottir Lialnes being a standout. I wasn't familiar with her at all before this film, but now I will absolutely be paying attention to her work, and I hope she gets cast in more stuff. I also think that this has some really sharp editing throughout, and it makes the story flow by perfectly, even though at its core it is so much more slow structured than it is. It's good. Weapons is nominated for Supporting Actress for Amy Madigan and follows students who wake up in the middle of the night at 2:17 AM and in the morning are all completely fucking gone. Talked about Weapons in great detail this year already, so I won't drag on about it. I think Madigan is kind of really great in this. I'm not saying that she should win, but I personally would not be angry if she did. Surat is nominated for International Feature and Sound Design and follows a man and his son as they find themselves following a group of ravers in search of his missing daughter. Surat is quite the experience of a film, and I advise you to go in with just that synopsis that I gave you if you haven't seen it yet. Seeing this completely blind was fantastic, as the story is some of the most unpredictable directions that will leave you genuinely speechless. A grand selection of powerful performances from real-life ravers, a grand score as well, which really should have been nominated this year, but we know how the Academy feels about electronic scores. I recommend this film a lot. Marty Supreme has 9 nominations, with Best Picture, Timothée Chalamet for Leading Actor, Casting, Cinematography, Costumes, Director, Editing, Production Design, and Original Screenplay, and follows Marty Mauser, a young man with a dream of becoming the best table tennis player in the world, as he sends his life into chaos when trying to catch his dream. Spoke about Marty Supreme already this year. It's a really great time. This is Chalamet's year. And of course, at number 1, it's the film that I feel like most people have at number 1 this year. Obviously, we have One Battle After Another, which has 13 nominations for Best Picture, Leonardo DiCaprio for Leading Actor, Benicio del Toro for Supporting Actor, Sean Penn for Supporting Actor, Tiana Taylor for Supporting Actress, Casting, Director, Cinematography, Editing, Score, Production Design, Sound, and Adapted Screenplay, and it follows Bob as he tries to be reunited with his kidnapped daughter among a world of chaos and evil. Did we really expect anything else to be at number 1? Is anyone else putting anything at number 1? One Battle After Another is truly the film of the decade in a way. It is one of the most important things that has been released in recent history for me in terms of films. It is a movie that 20 years from now I think will heavily define what the 2020s were. They're already doing a really scarily good job at it, and it is genuinely just a really entertaining thriller, comedy, drama, whatever you want to call it. It's all of those things. Personally, this is a no-brainer for Best Picture for me. I don't see a world where it loses, and it's just one of the most important films I've seen in a long time. So that's it. That's all 50 films nominated. This is probably the longest video I've ever posted on this channel. A lot of effort went into this video, watching all the movies, writing a script, editing it. I hope that you enjoyed so much. I hope that you liked my list, and if you didn't, fucking watch all 50 of them on your own terms and make your own. Thank you so much for watching. Oscar predictions coming soon, I guess, and I will see you in the next one.